Hello again. All right. The third sample lesson that I'm going to present is on a digraph. So I want to before we start, let's orient ourselves with where our pretend student is. So now we're on the CK lesson right here. So we're on lesson 17 for our pretend student. So by now they've had all the short vowels, okay? This is their very first digraph though, but they pretty much had all the short vowels and most consonants. So on my word list, you're going to see most of that. Now, I want to show you something that is a flaw of this practice lesson right here. The day, and it would be nice if I just edited this, but I'm just going to tell you my mistake. This is pretend world. So E and E, I put as I taught the day before, but I'm not, you don't see any evidence of that here. So that's an error. If I had taught E the day before, I think one year I added that in, but Xbox, and so I kept that as the lesson before. If this was really the day after a short E lesson, you would see evidence of short E everywhere. You would see me doing a phonological activity with short E because that is so confused with the E and the A sound. Phonogram cards, you'd see short E right in there and short E would be here. So this looks more like the day after an X lesson. So that's what this represents, okay? So that's just a little error on my part. But anyways, typically, whatever you taught the day before, you're going to want to see evidence of that. So when you do your practice SH lesson as homework, I'm going to want to see V, CK, E. There's going to be evidence of those things. V might not be super challenging for the child. It just gets kind of left behind because it's not like that useful of a letter. We don't use it too much. But CK and shorty and maybe even X, oh my goodness, there's going to be evidence of that in your phonogram drill and in your word list for sure. So we'll be looking for that when we grade your practice lessons. Okay, now you can see that I'm moving on. When I activate prior knowledge here, I'm not doing consonant versus vowel anymore. We're kind of beyond that now. Once we get into like digraph and blends, we're going to be reviewing stuff that actually connects to digraph and blends. So that whole, is it a consonant, is it a vowel thing, that's like in the very early days of level 1, just to establish this understanding that vowel sounds and consonant sounds are the building blocks of our code. But once we're past that, once we're working, and this could be on lesson 3 or this could be on lesson 30, depending on your student, once we're past that and we're doing digraphs, now you're going to be talking about these more complex things. And so, of course, you're going to be referencing more complex things. So I'm going to be talking to them about the ways to spell the k sound because that's relevant because now we're adding a third way to spell the k sound. And a couple weeks ago, they would have learned, we learned the phonogram card C, and on that same day, it looks like I taught them the cat and kite rule. You know what I mean? For like, the letter C goes with A, O, and U in the initial spot, and then the letter K goes with I and E in the initial spot. So we've already learned that K and C both make K, and that's tricky. So that makes sense for me to connect that here because that's the most relevant thing, okay? So going forward, when you're activating prior knowledge, you're just picking, you know, that obvious thing that you need to like bring up in their brains in order to launch into the next thing. Okay, so we'd also be starting a new page of the notebook, and I thought I brought a notebook over here. Let me just go grab one because I want to show you what that looks like. Oh my goodness, I picked it up. Where did I put it? I got it out before my lesson and I left it on the counter. Okay, so I wanted to show you what that notebook piece would look like again here. All right, so I'm going to begin. I'm going to be the teacher, and for this lesson, I'm not going to use the whiteboard in the printed word list. I am going to model how I would do this in an online lesson instead. All right, so I've done steps 1, 2, and 3. I am now arriving at step 4. Here we go. All right, a couple lessons ago, we learned about the different ways to spell the k sound at the beginning of a word. Do you remember what those ways were? There were 2 of them. Yes, K and C, that's right. Now, can you tell me what you remember? We might have to open up your notebook about when to use K and when to use C. And if they did, that would be great. And we could open up their notebook and look at that spelling thing or whatever. That's right. We use the letter C with A, O, and U. And we use the letter K with I and E. Good job knowing that. Okay, well, I know I've told you this before, but the English code has some complicated parts. And today we're going to tackle another complicated part. Okay, tell me what you hear at the end of these words. Sock, tack, pick. What do you hear at the end? That's right. Okay, so that part was easy for you. I've got a question before we look at them. What letter or letters do you picture at the end of sock, tack, pick? Okay, let's take a look. Let's see what we see on the screen. Ooh, wrong slide. What do you see on the screen? They have a C and a K. Oh my goodness, what on earth? So that's strange because in real life, the C says K and the K says K. And now we see them together and they still say K. This is kind of a funny thing about our language. Why do we have them both together? I do not know, but we do. Now, when we mark things like this, we're going to underline it with one line because the C and the K are not making two sounds. We're not saying sock. No, we're just making that one sound. So if we underline it with one line, that helps our brain remember that, oh yeah, one sound. Three sounds, but how many letters do you see? That's right, 4. All right, I'm going to have you try to read these words with the CK. Let's try it. Sock, ack, tack, ick, pick. Excellent job. Now, this is the first time we've done this, but these, and I know you've done this in school, so you might have like a little knowledge about it, but it's the first time with you and me for tutoring. Now, there's something funny here because we have 2 letters, but they're coming together to make one sound. And you might remember your poster at school has on the bottom row a whole bunch of these cards. Has your teacher told you what they're called in school? No? Okay. They're called digraphs. Now, digraphs are something special in our language. They're consonants because you can see that they've got yellow there. And we already know it's a tongue scraper sound. But there's something even more special about them. They're called digraphs. And let me tell you why. Okay, get your fingers up like me. We've got 2 consonants come together to make one sound. That's what a digraph is. 2 consonants come together to make one sound. All right, you're going to echo after me. Ready? We're going to talk about that. Ready? My turn. A digraph is 2 consonants that come together to make one sound. That's right. All together, both of us, you and me. A digraph is 2 consonants that come together to make one sound. And you know what? Our cards help us remember that because there it is. Those are the 2 consonants. And there they are together on one card. They're on one card to remind us that they make one sound. Okay? And same thing when we do our magnets. We have our magnets, all of our digraphs are down below, but they get one magnet because the CK together makes one sound. Ooh, something I didn't ask you about this particular digraph, something unusual about this one, is where do you see it in the word? Beginning or end? End, yes. CK only comes at the end, okay? So everything we learned about C and K and spelling at the beginning of words, keep that. This is only going to be at the end of your words. Okay, so now we're going to add that into our notebook. Where do you think we should put it? Under consonants or vowels? That's right, consonants. So we're going to go to our consonant section, and I've actually started a new page for you here. So if we were online, you'd be doing some sort of cool digital version of this, but this is what my in-person journal looks like. Okay, so we're in our consonant section, and pretend that's blank. I have blank consonants that make blank sound. So what should we put in there? What number should we put in? A digraph is how many consonants? That's right, 2. That make how many sounds? 1. Very good. So this would all be blank, and I'd have CK sock filled out, and then the child would draw a picture of a sock. This child was just not into drawing pictures, not his cup of tea, so we didn't do that. Okay, so now that was our very first digraph, and we will have more coming. Now that we know that CK says k, let's try reading some of those words. Okay, I'm gonna get out. Do you want to pick a bookmark today? What color bookmark would you like? Let me get out. Oh, I know. Today I'm gonna be fancy. I'm gonna do rounded edges. Look at that. And then you tell me what color you're in the mood for. Okay, you think purple? Okay, perfect. So now I've got this out for us. Let's practice. Let's take a look at these words. Do you see a CK in them? Yeah, where do you see the CK? At the end. And I gave you some word families today to get warmed up. So what vowel is in the middle of all these words? I-H-E, that's right. I. All right, so all of these have the same vowel. I want you to work on whisper reading to yourself, and then when it's time to read to me, I want you to be able to snap them together. So you don't have to be speedy. I want you to be accurate and snap them together. Give it a try. All right, you ready? I want to hear you read them. Sick, lick, nick, tick, pick. Well done. Very good. Now, as a challenge, I think we should try to do 3 words at a time. Okay. I think you're ready for that because you just showed me all that nice, what's it called? All that nice, like automatic reading you could do. So I'm wondering if I scoop like this, these 3, let's try to get them in one breath. Remember how I showed you to do that the other day? And then you pause, and then you try the last 2 in one breath. I want you to whisper, rehearse, and then try it. Cyclic nick. Tick pick. Oh, well done. Very good. You're ready for the second row. Okay, I'm going to slide my bookmark down. And then so on and so on. And then for this one, I put an asterisk there to show my student that that's a nonsense word, just because I wanted to have even rows and I ran out of words. So that's what that's about. Now, when we get to sentences, I might say, okay, take a look today. I've used some interesting punctuation here. I didn't use periods in these sentences. Can you tell me what you see? Yep, an exclamation point. What else? Right, a question mark. So that's going to give your brain a little signal for what to do with your voice. Why don't you try whispering it to yourself? Ike! Did the dog like the sock? Wow, I heard you do lots of CK for those ones. Well done. Okay, now one thing though, I heard the I sound for this first word and right here. Can you remind me the keyword that goes with short I? What do we say for that? I-H-It. Whoops, how did that happen? I-H-It, that's right. So when you see those words, I want to hear the I sound. Try it again with the I sound. Ick. Ick, that's right. Do you know what ick means? Oh, yeah, it's just a sound word. So that's probably why you might have been confused. Ick is a sound word like, ew, gross. Okay. Ick. Did the dog lick the sock? Wow, I heard all the it that you did in that sentence. Well done changing it to it. Now, the last piece of advice I'm going to give you is to make sure your voice is sounding question-y. So you're going to have to go up at the end to make it sound like an asking voice. So I heard, did the dog lick the sock. That was a telling voice. You read each word perfectly. You made all the right vowel sounds, but I want you to switch your voice into a question. Ick. Did the dog lick the sock? Oh, well done. You got your vowels. You got your digraphs. You got your expression. Amazing work. Whew. Ready for sentence 2? And then you can go on and on and on. Okay, so that would be the digraph lesson. I think one piece I might have overlooked there while I was teaching was to talk about how the keyword helps us there. I think I kind of breezed over that. Sock. We hear the k at the end of the word sock because it's reminding us that CK only comes at the end. So I might have breezed over that little portion. All right, well done. That's our lesson on digraphs.